Morning, everybody. Almost afternoon for some. Thank you for joining today. Our main topic is going to be managing AI risk in credit unions. And we're happy to join you at the beginning of this. We'll go over our agenda, and the end we're going to definitely leave time for questions and answers in our Q&A section. So feel free to jot anything down or to have deeper conversation at the end. I'm Alicia Dzurenko. I'm with NetCov, and I work specifically, one of my prime customers and accounts I work with are credit unions. And so I have a lot of experience previous to NetCov as well with working with credit unions. And then we also have Bill Goldin. He's our Senior VP of Cybersecurity. And Bill, I'll let you intro yourself.
Sure. So I'm Bill Goldin, SVP Cybersecurity. So I oversee all our cybersecurity solutions and strategies for ourselves and our clients. I've been doing this for 25 years, working with the SMBs all the way up into large enterprise financial institutions. So quite the gamut.
And then our agenda today, we'll go over some basics of AI, NCUA, public versus private AI, specifics more surrounding AI usage in credit unions, some tips and suggestions, as well as, again, ending with a question and answer at the end. And just to give a brief overview of who we were founded in 1996. We have, I think, 350 plus staff members. We support over 50,000 users. We're across the majority of the United States. And specifically related to credit unions, we have 185, 190 plus credit unions now, small, mid-size, and large, all across the board. We focus on related to credit unions, compliance, cyber, cloud, modernization, assessments, tabletops, and deeply helpful in audit prep and regulatory exam readiness as well. Just to give a brief overview of who we are. And jumping in here, to start off, study, nearly 88% of employees are experimenting with AI, and only 6% of companies have dedicated AI policy. Bill, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing out in the industry. Everyone's kind of using it, playing with it, but there's no real policies or security governance around it. Most companies are behind on that. There's no real strategy. Some companies do, but most of the companies don't have formalized policies around AI. So this is an area I think we need to improve as just overall the whole industry, that we have to catch up. And I kind of use the analogy, it's kind of like driving a car without a seatbelt. A car is great. It's better than walking, gets you there, point A to B, a lot quicker and faster, helps you, it's convenient. But eventually, there's going to be an accident and you don't have those security guidelines and guardrails to kind of help in that. So that's where we're going to head there, to where we get these guardrails in there and all the safety features. But right now, AI is the shiny new object out there that, helps people in their businesses. So
for sure.
Yeah. So the National Credit Union Association, they actually have an AI compliance plan. So they actually last updated this in September. It's really focused around what the government is doing. And really security and governance is the biggest part of this. The good thing that they're doing is they're looking to the government for funding to help fund some of this, so we have some control of this. And they're also going through use cases and knowledge. So they're actually asking all the credit unions, hey, what are you using AI for? What platforms are you using it for? How are you using it? How are you using it? So this way they can take that information and then share it. So this is one of the things I'd keep an eye on and follow. We'll have a link to this in this presentation that we could send out, later, but that's where this is kind of going. And I think a lot of the things that the NCUA is doing now to gather data, they're still in this kind of data gathering phase of what to do. But from that will be governance that comes out of here. So for audits and everything else, so
Mhm.
this is something we want to kind of pay attention to where it goes in the future.
For sure. And just to go over the basics of AI.
Yeah. So the biggest thing when talking about it is there's public AI and private AI, private AI. So some of the examples are a public is ChatGPT, Gronk, Claude, Meta AI. Like, basically, everyone's coming up with an AI. So the public AIs are all free. So if you're using those, it's a free service. Those all have shared models. There's really no organizational control, and data could leave your environment with the limited availability. So that means anything you put into a public AI, it's using that information for learning purposes and to get better and to do that. But if you put the wrong information there, it'll learn on the wrong information in there. And then there's the private, the enterprise AI. So people like Microsoft, they have Copilot. Salesforce has their own. ServiceNow. Multiple companies are coming out with private and enterprise AI. And what this is, it's more of an enclosed environment. So it helps you integrate into your own security controls that you have existing. You could leverage your internal data safely so it doesn't go out. So anything you put into the AI or it generates from a private AI, it's not going into the public. So people aren't going out there and learning based on what your information is doing. There's also the governance of this. So a lot of these private AIs, they'll have logging and access control. So you can see who's using it, what they're doing, and you have more control over that. So that is a huge thing. And what we're seeing is a lot of companies are starting to use public AI, or the employees are at least, noticing this and then coming up with plans, then eventually moving to the private enterprise AI to control everything.
Yeah, and I just to kind of go back to that original stat at a recent, well, it was end of last year credit union event. Everybody at the event was raising their hand. It was cybersecurity focused, but that they were utilizing credit union employees were utilizing AI, and we were talking about ChatGPT, Gronk, and then with my customers, some are now we're in discussions about Copilot and how to use that in governance and compliance, but even if they're just grabbing their phone, they're still utilizing it. And so it's important to definitely understand the difference and that's open. It's open source right out to the public,
Mm.
which leads to the risk portion.
Yeah, I mean, understanding the risks. So, I mean, credit unions, they have sensitive information. So we don't want that data getting out. I like the funny clip art there, just putting in there
Yeah.
the loan, putting all the information there. So we don't want to do that. We don't want the information getting out there. Basically, we're saying is like people are using right now, people are using AI, but they don't have the guardrails in place, you know. So the key takeaway here is that education is key. Telling your people the differences, educating the workforce, letting them know, hey, this is what could happen if everything goes out there. And this is really the biggest problem with AI right now. It's the governance of it. So it's a powerful tool, but it also could lead to, you know, a lot of risk. So that's where the governance problem is. People are using it, but there's no governance. And that's kind of goes back to that survey. Only 36% even have a policy around AI. So that means the majority of the people that are using it or companies don't even have a policy. So not
Mhm.
administrative control or a technical control to kind of have the guardrails around this. So
Yeah, and it's here and not going anywhere. And the
yeah,
usage is just increasing. So it's an important thing to start to process and implement.
yeah. So what should credit unions not be doing? Obviously uploading sensitive data. That is bad. We don't want that getting in there. We don't want employees just selecting their own tools because you can't control that. You have no governance over it. And people could be using 10 different tools. Well, as a company, it's a lot easier to manage saying, hey, this is our one tool. We can manage this and build policies and security around that. You can't do it around everything. So education and written policies are going to be the start of this, but that's not the end goal. The end goal is to have those technical controls there so you can stop it. You could put in the guardrails. So when someone mistakenly types in some information they shouldn't, the security protocols in there say, hey, you can't do this, and doesn't allow it. So, and eventually where this is all going is we're going to have to prove to the auditors, how do we securely manage AI? Hey, we know we're using it, but how are you securing it? What are the guardrails? How are you doing? So we're going to have to probably prove this to auditors, I think, in the future. That's where I think this is going. So that's why we're talking about it now and trying to build out these things before the auditors come chasing down.
For sure. Yeah. And then leading into how actual credit unions are using it today.
Yeah. So the most common ways we see people using this in credit unions are just, drafting emails, with AI, having them rewrite it, refining it, hey, make this more professional or change the tone, they're also summarizing policies, documents, procedures, assisting with IT. I know our team uses it for AI to help out. We can write scripts with that. And basically all the tools now, security tools are also building in AI with those. So we're looking at for email filtering, analyzing emails. So making sure that we're fighting AI with AI because the bad guys are using AI as well. Analyzing spreadsheets and internal data sets. People are doing that and they're doing it in public. We know it's happening out there. We don't want it to happen, but that's the majority of the ways people are using it. So, and then they graduate. Some of the advanced ways, some of the credit unions that we're seeing is they're actually developing custom applications for this, for AI, specifically, chatbots. So whether they're internal to help with training and answer questions quicker to get information, or putting it out there on their websites for members to ask and help answer kind of the common questions for them to reduce that. Also applying we talked about the governance and security around this, and then integrating it into their core workflows. So we actually we're working with one credit union now to build out a reporting AI. So basically they can type out, instead of building out, tons and tons of reports, they'll ask for reports and change what their criteria is. So they'll give a forecast and, hey, if interest rates change, what does this look like? If, our members increase, what does this look like? They could add different connections and tones into the reporting engine so they can give them more forecasting data. So that's a really cool concept of what they're doing, and we're helping out. So it's exciting times with that.
And getting to that point, the governance and compliance to get there to where you're protected then in a secure environment, correct? Going from common usage to where they may even be using their cell phone to chat something in to get an answer, or upload a spreadsheet or email themselves something, to then having the compliance and governance to then start utilizing the shiny new tool of AI to where it's benefiting the business and workflow.
Yeah. And all the advanced stuff is that private enterprise AI, because it kind of has to be,
Yeah.
you're developing
Yeah.
it. So,
Yep.
all right. So
Yeah.
we talked about AI, we talked about security, we talked about the different ways, but really how do we get there? That's the biggest question, I'm receiving from clients. So I like to break it down and take it to more of a journey. So the first thing to do is just visibility to AI usage. So to make any decision, you need data points, to see what's going on. So this could be a simple survey to your staff, like, hey, who's using AI? What are they using it for? You can ask about it in a meeting. So have a company meeting. What are we doing? Or small group meetings, but you want to get that data. You can also grab from the technical stuff. You have it like, hey, what websites are people using during the day? How often are they going to it? But that'll lead you into finding out what they're doing. Then you want to go to education. So kind of talking about the risks, the difference between public and private, You want to make sure that they understand what they're doing. And then you're going to go into picking a platform. So picking out what AI platform makes the best for you, what integrates with your systems, which one has the security controls that you need for governance and audits coming up. So you want to talk about all these things and explain to them why we're doing this. So the good and the bad. So I want to make sure, hey, these are all the good things AI does, but also here's the risks associated with them. And that's why we decided, hey, we're going with this platform because it helps us with both. So
And
once you have that policy and that platform picked, you want to talk about clear and enforceable AI policies. So one, always start with just a written one. So this can be in a handbook. This could be in your acceptable use policy that people sign off on. So now that you've educated them, you told them, hey, this is what we're doing. You want to have the administrative policy saying, hey, this is what our plan is. This is what you do. And this is the proper way to use AI. So this way they know. And then after that, we can go into the technical controls to back that up. So things like, hey, we're only using Copilot. So we're blocking all other AIs from people using it. So, and then the ongoing monitoring and adjustments. I mean, AI is moving so quickly. It's at a rapid pace. So we need to make sure that we're keeping up with all the governance tools that are going to be out there. AI is not a set it and forget it. I mean, it's rapidly changing, so we have to evolve with it. And the biggest thing we see is building in like data loss prevention. So we talked about people putting in information they shouldn't. Well, we need to put in policies and technical controls. So if someone does do that, it flags it, it stops it, and doesn't put the company at risk. So, but this is going to be an ongoing thing. It's still maturing, I will say. Not every tool has it. Not everyone there's not a great plan. Microsoft's doing a bunch of stuff with this with Copilot. It's a bunch of stuff in preview that they're having, but basically they're trying to take the same cautions like what you do in email. You wouldn't send out all this email, it's all sensitive information out. Well, the same thing with AI. You don't want to put all that sensitive information out there. So that's kind of like the recommendations and breaking it down into different steps for your journey. So you want to make sure you get the data, do the education, you pick what's right for you and your company, and then you want to work on how we're going to actually enforce the rules that we have, and then how are we going to maintain and manage this moving forward so we can go through that whole process. So, but that's the big challenge that we are all facing, everyone's facing, not just credit unions, all the industries. So it's an exciting time to be around, but also like a little nerve-wracking that we start with the fun stuff first, then come back to security, which the security person, I don't like that part, but we have to keep up with that. We're always behind the bad guys, building new walls and everything else to stop people. So
yeah, that's a great way to put it. And we actually have a couple questions coming in here. Oops,
all right.
it's not. Oh, there we go. Which was perfect timing for our Q&A. Hold on one second here. Let me pull that up. What if someone is using a paid personal version within the credit union? Does ChatGPT have an enterprise version?
Yeah. So ChatGPT, they do have enterprise version. I think it's more personal. I don't know if they have corporate ones. It's going to be more like the Copilots, the Microsoft, the different vendors that are there. We're seeing a lot of the Copilot ones being built because Copilot, not only is it just in your email and in the Office apps, but it actually has the agents. So you can build those chat bots and everything else in there. So we're seeing that going there, or using things on like AWS and Azure. They're building out AI platforms for people to build AI applications. So that's what we're seeing going there. We're actually building out some of those in Azure, and we have one in AWS as well. So they're building out those platforms so this way we can see what's going on. And once they're in those platforms, there's a lot of security. Like AWS and Microsoft, they have tons of security built in for their other things, they're migrating those all over and building them into the AI platforms.
And then going back to the first portion of that question, if someone is using a paid personal version within the credit union, I would say that's, if it's a personal version, that would be high risk, and that's, a public AI platform.
Yeah. Well, you
Even
have,
if you pay for your own chat GPT, it's still public. So everything's going out and it's learning that
yeah.
way.
And you have no insight to it. You
Yeah.
can't look at logs. Like if it's centralized and it's something in control of like the credit union, then you can have that logging and see like who did this, who entered that information. Right now, you can, if you have the enterprise and people are still doing that, it's kind of like shadow IT. They're using shadow AI. You have no insight what's going on, what they're putting in there. So
Yeah. Even if it's not, PII, it could be business related content that you wouldn't want out on
yeah,
the web. And then next question. When someone is using AI to analyze things such as charge-off trends and entering things like a loan amount, credit score, DTI, et cetera, minus the member data, I feel like there's a huge risk to this, but the team is insistent that it is under control. Only select people are allowed to use AI on a use case situation.
yeah. So I think this comes down to the governance. So
Mhm.
how are you making sure that they're using it? They say it's okay. I'm a trust but verify person.
Yeah.
If there's no automation and there's no technical controls in there, then we're relying on humans. And unfortunately, humans, we all make mistakes and errors, and I've done it, and I'm sure everyone on this call has made a mistake at work. So yes, people are doing this. They say it's safe, but we don't know if there's metadata and whatever they're learning and putting up there. There's a bunch of different ways this can happen. And really, the only way you can be ensure that you're doing stuff correctly for your members and your credit union is having control over that.
Mhm.
So making sure you have that control and the governance over it so you can see what's going on.
And I think too, for an internal policy, everyone's talking, in the office, and they know this person is using AI for loan amount, credit score. So then maybe that person then goes and uses it, but they're not sensitive to what they can or can't, that one person may be great, but that could really breed a lot of risk from employee to employee, somebody making a mistake. So just honing down on that education and policy is really primary.
Yeah.
Are people building custom AI using Azure Foundry or more local models?
Yes. So the three things I'm seeing right now is either Azure Foundry, AWS Bedrock, or using Copilot Studio. Um, Copilot Studio, I would say, is the entry level. It's really easy to use to build apps quick. We have people at our staff, our company, they're actually building out these modules and chatbots. We have our own AI that's within Copilot, so all our data is safe. And we have different ones. So we have one for HR, we have one for our sales team, and we have one for compliance. So we got tons of compliance questions, and it's always changing. So we built out a whole bunch of documents and then shared that, and we're feeding the AI with the information that we want. So it's taking public knowledge as well as our internal things. So one of the questions we always get is like, hey, we have compliance. How would you guys do this? How would you meet this control? And we say, hey, this is the service we offer. So the AI will respond is like, hey, to meet these controls, NetCov offers X, Y, and Z. So it covers those controls instead of having the one compliance person because there's not many of us and we can't be on every single call. So it enables the rest of the company to ask the AI bot basically what's going on and give them the information they need. So
Yeah. And then can we get a copy of this webinar? Yes, if unless we have any other questions, we'll probably end pretty quickly here. But here's my email and Bill's email, and you can feel free if you didn't want to, chat your your question and want to have a further conversation, we're open to a call or further discussion as well, and can kind of dive into what we're seeing, with our exam readiness, any further questions, what we're utilizing, projects, we're specifically doing, any questions, we're here for you. And then, yes, I can go ahead and forward anyone that wants a copy to show other staff for sure. We definitely would love this to be a resource, so to help. And unless there are, let's see here, any other last minute questions, it looks like I can give you 2-3 minutes back in your day. But we really appreciated everyone joining. Feel free to reach out to us. And also, if you could email me and let me know. Actually, I will go ahead and email the NCUA link post webinar. Other than that, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bill. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
And I wanted to send a quick, I totally missed at the beginning, Bruce Goolsby with Cornerstone. That's who I've connected with, and he is hosting and putting on these webinars for you guys for information. So wanted to give a great shout out to him as well. So thank you guys so much, and hope you guys have a good day and stay warm.